Politician is showing up in Ohio this very week. And they don't come any more high-powered than President Ronald Reagan. He was greeted by the man who needs his help the most, George Voinovich. As usual, the president draws a crowd, but today's campaign stop didn't get off to the smoothest of starts. In fact, 1 hour before he was due to speak, there was a big snag. Jim McElroy joins us now as part of our team coverage to explain what that was. Jim.
A Tata truck hit a power pole and the lights went out here at the Recreation Center on the Baldwin Wallace campus for about 30 minutes. And people were beginning to wonder if the president's visit would either be delayed or maybe even canceled altogether because of the problem. However, the power was restored in plenty of time. And when President Reagan got here, he further energized the big crowd on hand by laying into the Democrats by using what is being termed the dreaded L word, liberal. And he used that word no less than 15 times in a 40-minute address.
The President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Here again, Ronald Reagan working a crowd the way few presidents have ever been able to. 6,000 people jammed into the Baldwin Wallace Recreation Center. That's when they closed the doors, leaving another 2,000 outside. The president came to Berea to help George Voinovich and his sagging Senate campaign. He also came to take a few shots at the incumbent Howard Bentsen.
And now, after all of these months and all of this time, the fellow at the top of the other ticket has admitted what Ohioans have known about George Voinovich's opponent all along, that he's liberal.
In glancing briefly at a small group of Dukakis supporters, Mr. Reagan ridiculed the Democratic candidate's claim that he, Dukakis, is cut from the same Democratic cloth as FDR, JFK, and Harry Truman.
If he's Harry Truman, I'm Roger Rabbit.
And the president had a warning for his fellow Republicans.
This election isn't over yet, not by a long shot. And as Winston Churchill once said, we must wage war until victory is won.
Finally, the president left the big crowd by using his most famous exit line.
Now, I want to ask you to do me one small favor. Will you go out there and win one for the Gipper?
In his appearance today on behalf of the Republican ticket, President Reagan laid the foundation for another generation of Republican faithful. As Steve Craig shows us tonight, the president enjoys immense popularity among young people.
There was a time not too long ago when the appearance of a conservative Republican president on a college campus would trigger, at the very least, a sit-in. But today at Baldwin Wallace, like last month at Ohio State, love-in was more like it.
I'd like to say hello to a bunch of guys who have made Baldwin Wallace proud with their amazing 30-year streak, the Yellow Jackets.
Baldwin Wallace was never a hotbed of liberalism. And now, near the end of the Reagan 80s, this campus has a decidedly conservative tilt. Some view Ronald Reagan as a hero.
And I think Reagan's done a great job with putting the country back on its feet.
Most students here cannot pay for college on their own. And even though President Reagan has cut student aid, they don't hold it against him.
Actually, the financial aid for college students has gone down during Reagan's presidency.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That doesn't change your mind about him, though?
No, I think he's doing a good job.
They'll graduate in debt like their country. Even among those who prefer Dukakis, there's admiration for the presidency as Reagan has defined it. Many of college age cannot clearly recall any other president.
Yeah, well, Carter, I remember, so. Yeah, I remember. Not much, but I remember history classes.
In summing up the Reagan appeal here, Mayor Voinovich echoed this banner.
Mr. President, you've got all this enthusiasm because you've given these young people 8 years of peace and prosperity.
Ironically, the students most politically important at this rally can't even vote yet. They're members of the Parma, Mid-Park, and Berea bands, whose parents are perceived as Reagan Democrats. People the Republicans now want as Bush Democrats.
It's important to have a couple of footnotes here. First of all, although it looked like the place was packed wall to wall with Republicans, Reagan supporters, Bush supporters, as Jim pointed out, there were a few patches of Democrats in there, and they were given away every time they popped up their Bush and Bentsen signs. Reporting live from Baldwin Wallace College, Steve Craig, Eyewitness News.
Okay, Steve, thank you, and Jim as well. Riding what the Democrats are calling a wave of new energy, Michael Dukakis' running mate is trying to lock down the Northeast Ohio vote this week. As Rich White tells us tonight,